January 14th, 2020, Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is being recorded by WQLN and is broadcast on Spectrum Channel 1024 and YouTube.com with closed captioning available. Third item on the agenda is public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications. Anyone in the audience like to make a comment on that? Hearing none, we'll move on. Next is approval of the minutes. Any questions or comments on the minutes?
I will make a motion to approve the January 6th meeting minutes for both the organization meeting and our regular meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Next is the bills. Had a chance to review the bills. Any questions or comments on the latest batch?
I have nothing.
No?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Next on our agenda is Resolution 20R-2. Turn it over to Mr. Zakrzewski.
Yes. Each year, we're required under Act 600 to affirm the contribution rate for the police officers, and this resolution does so. It's remaining the same at 5.25%, which is the same as it was in the previous year, and that was an increase in 2019, but no increase in 2020, and probably for beyond. So my recommendation is to approve it so that we can legally withhold the pension contributions to the police officers.
Any questions or comments on that?
No.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve Resolution 2020R-2?
I move that we approve Resolution 2020-R-2.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Next is Resolution 2020R-3, excuse me, from the Millcreek Police Department. Excuse me. This is a routine action we take for deletion of dash cam videos. These are dated between 1/15 of 2020 and 1/28 of 2020 due to reaching the end of their required retention period. Do I hear a motion on that action?
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-R3.
I'll second that.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Olet?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Next is Resolution 2020R-4, Coy Road reimbursement amended. I'll turn it over to Mr. Shaw.
Yes, this is a resolution to amend a prior resolution that was passed by the board, which was 2019 R61. It relates to a general reimbursement grant agreement for Federal Highway Project number 010W54 that was entered into between Millcreek Township and PennDOT. This relates to the sidewalk work that was done along Coy Road pursuant to a joint partial settlement agreement among all parties in the Voices matter. After Resolution 2019 R21 was approved, PennDOT informed us that there were 2 additional changes to the underlying agreement that also had to be approved, both dealing with exhibits, neither of which frankly impact the underlying project, but they need to be included into the final kind of document package. In addition, since that time, PennDOT's project software system changed, requiring that the person using the system be authorized to sign the various documents and approvals that are needed as part of that system. So as a result, we have this amended resolution that addresses these 2 items, approving the addition of those 2 amended exhibits and authorizing and Sokol to execute any documents necessary to carry out the purposes of this resolution and any other documents necessary to complete the agreement.
Okay.
So I have.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Walder, any additional comments from the Planning Development Department?
No, I think Mr. Shaw covered it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-R4.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Alette?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, next is a memorandum of understanding between the Erie County Department of Planning and Community Development and Millcreek Township for the NPDES Municipal Separate Storm Sewer Systems, MS4. Turn it over to Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is a memorandum of understanding with the Erie County Department of Planning and Community Development. This would actually be the third MOU between the township and the department. We entered into one in 2018 and again in 2019. This is to provide services related to our stormwater MS4 compliance. They do education. They reach out to various groups around the township and the county. They also do housekeeping demonstrations for our township staff. In the past, they've done digitizing for our GIS to take our paper maps and place them in the GIS. The total cost for these services, they charge $100 for the education and housekeeping portion, and then they charge $1,000 for up to 300 hours of GIS services. Last year, 2019, we did not use all of the 300 hours, so we paid a prorated amount, about $780. I don't anticipate any further GIS services being required, so at this point, it would just be mostly the $100 education fee. The only change to this agreement from the previous agreements is that they've extended it, so it would be a 3-year agreement. It would run through December 31st of 2022, so that we wouldn't have to keep coming back yearly to renew it. So I would recommend approval of this MOU with the county for a cost not to exceed $1,100 total each of the 3 years.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Any questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just say that we have had this agreement with the county for, what is it, a year or 2 years now, Matt?
This agreement?
Now, how long have we had this agreement with the county? Has it been 2 years now?
2 years, yes, 18 and 19.
It has been beneficial. I know it's been very helpful for our planning team to have the county do some of this digitizing work. And it's really a bargain of a price, too. So, as well as time saving on the educational aspect. I know our engineering office used to put a lot of time into those efforts, and now it really is a nice service to the county to kind of centralize that for us and the municipalities. So I do think it's a worthwhile agreement to enter into.
Okay.
So with that, I would make a motion to approve the MOU with the Erie County Department of Planning and Community Development for MS4 services.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Alette?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Next on the agenda is a ravine release request for property at 205 Marshall Drive. Donna Robb, developer. Turn it over to Mr. Shaw.
Yes, this relates to a property that had sought a variance, I think, to back and side yard setbacks. They originally had a building on the property which was demolished, and they were looking to place a new building on the property, essentially at the same location that the old building was, but because they had demolished the prior building, they needed to get variances for the setbacks that had been grandfathered in previously. The township did oppose this variance before the zoning hearing board due to the proximity of the building to the ravine, but the zoning hearing board granted the variance, but the owner did agree to execute this release that is before you, that acknowledges the risks of where they're building and would release the township from any and all claims associated with where they're building and any impacts that may be caused by any future erosion or recession of the ravine that's behind their property. It would be recorded, so it would also apply to all future owners. So we would recommend to execute this release to at least offer the township some additional protection for this property.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any questions or additional comments on that?
I just want to make one comment, Mr. Chairman. I know there's been some concerns about this release. We have had issues in the last few years with development being too close to these ravines with some that have impacted property owners. One of the things in our comprehensive plan we have as a goal is to restrict development from a certain distance of these ravine banks. We're currently updating our zoning code and land development codes to put those kind of restrictions in place. We don't currently have them. So I would say that to be compliant with the plan, we shouldn't be allowing things, but under these circumstances where essentially is a pre-existing structure, the new structure is going to be exist in generally the same footprint from the same distance. I don't have any concerns about this instance, but in the future we will be looking at these issues to try and limit future kind of liability issues for the township when it comes to these banks and their tendency to recede.
Right, I would just echo those sentiments. Definitely a concern and something that needs addressed for future. Okay.
But with that, I would make a motion to approve the ravine release requests at 205 Marshall Drive.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Owlett?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, next on our agenda is financial security release requests from Accudyne. Turn it over to Matt Waldinger again.
Thank you. Yeah, we have two financial security release requests from Accudyne for two different projects that they have undertaken. The first is for a 12,500 square foot building addition that they began in 2012. They were required to install a stormwater management pond for that addition, and they gave us financial security in order to ensure that they complied with that. It has been inspected by Green & Peterson. It has been found in satisfactory condition. We do have the required certification from the township engineer recommending release of the letter of credit. So at this time, I would like to recommend that the board release Erie Bank letter of credit number 1378 in the amount of $65,527, and that is for the Accudyne 2012 edition.
Okay, very good. Any further questions on that, or comments? No? Do I hear a motion on that financial security release request?
Mr. Waller, just so I'm clear, we're acting on two separate security
Yes.
releases?
Yes, this would be for the 2012 building edition.
I'd make a motion to approve the financial security release for Accudyne for the 2012 edition.
I'll second that.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Owlett?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, next is another request for different year.
Yes, yeah. The second is for a 10,000 square foot, an additional 10,000 square foot building addition and 6,359 square feet of parking addition that Accudyne did in 2018. What they chose to do, because the projects were so close together, was actually modify the stormwater management that they installed for the 2012 edition. So they did modifications to that, expanded it. That was also approved by Green & Peterson. We also have a certification from the township engineer that everything has been completed. So at this time, I would like to recommend that the board release Erie Bank letter of credit number 1553 in the amount of $46,678.50, and this is for the Accudyne 2018 edition.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Do I hear a motion on that request?
Make a motion to approve the financial security release for Accudyne for the 2018 edition.
I'll second.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Owlett?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Next, we have a conflict of interest waiver request. Turn it over to Mr. Shaw.
Yes, the Millcreek Township School District filed an appeal of a decision by the Board of Assessment Appeals to reduce the tax value of 4 properties owned by Plastec. My firm represents Plastec and is requesting to be able to represent Plastec in this appeal. The township has been represented in this matter by Attorney Evan Adair, and so my firm is asking that you execute this conflict waiver to allow my firm to represent Plastec in this matter or in this appeal taken by the school district.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions on this? Okay. Do I hear a motion on the waiver of conflict of interest request regarding Plastec?
Suppose we can allow Mr. Shaw's firm to make a living, I suppose.
I'll take that as a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the conflict of interest waiver request as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Outlet?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, next on our agenda is the building construction reports. Mr. Waldinger?
Thank you. Yes, I have 2 reports for the board today. The first is the December 2019 building construction report. As we normally see in December with the holidays and the weather, it's a fairly light report. We had 1 addition to a single-family residence for an increase in value of $30,000. We had 4 permits for non-residential construction for a total increased value of $25,792. Altogether, in the month of December, we issued 5 permits for a total increased value of $55,792, and we took in $250 in zoning permit fees. Next would be the total building report for the year of 2019. In 2019, we issued a total of 52 residential building permits. That included the addition of 16 single-family homes and 16 multifamily units, as well as some additions. Those totaled an additional or construction value of $9,382,450. We also issued a total of 117 non-residential permits. Those would be for things like sheds, additions, commercial buildings. The total increased value of those is $14,618,784. Altogether in 2019, there were 273 zoning permits issued. Total construction value of $24,001,234. That generated $50,300 in zoning permit fees. Both of these reports will be available online later today, and hard copies will also be available in the Planning and Development Office.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, next, number 14, communications. Treasurer Communications, Mark? Do you have anything further?
We've got, I've got these conference
Okay.
requests.
Okay,
The first would be the PELRAS conference. This is a public employment law seminar held in State College. We've generally sent the 3 supervisors, myself, and Diane Lyons. Diane's unable to attend this year, so this year I am going to have my assistant, Melanie Page, attend as well. The total cost for that conference is estimated to be $4,632. So I'm requesting the ability to spend that money plus the time off for the persons involved. Do
okay.
you want to do these all 3 at once, or do you want to do them each separately?
Yeah, I think separately, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Gentlemen, the PELRAS, as Mark mentioned, it's been budgeted for all 3 of us to attend. Last year, I think the last 2 years, I've requested the board actually reallocate the funds for me to attend to actually allow me to attend the PA planning conference instead, which is a little more useful, I think, for my responsibilities as liaison to planning and development. If you gentlemen wouldn't be opposed to it, I'd like to have 1/5 of those costs be reallocated for me to attend that conference later this year. I don't have the specifics on that yet as far as the cost. So did you get announced, what, June or July, Matt?
Yeah, usually late July, the announcement comes out.
But if you gentlemen wouldn't be opposed to me attending that conference instead of Pell Raz, I'd appreciate it.
No objections here?
So I'd make a motion to approve the travel request for Pell Raz for up to 4 participants rather than 5.
Okay.
Okay, is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Alette?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes.
Okay, the next one is the annual attendance at the PSATS conference. Normally, we send a pretty healthy crew to this, but this year, we've got 2 lucky volunteers. So we're looking to request time off for Dan Ouellette as our voting representative, and for John Sepesta as our, there's an engineering portion of this conference as well, and so Matt has volunteered John to go to PSATs as well as the engineering portion of PSATs. The total cost there is estimated to be $36.74, which is for 2 individuals.
We're not sending 3?
No,
You don't want to go?
no. I'm actually going to be out of town. My daughter's graduating from pharmacy school.
Gary,
But I-
you want to go?
No, thank you.
Cheryl?
So the request is for roughly $3,700 for the 2 attendees to attend the PSATS conference in Hershey, May 3rd through 6th.
Should clarify, PSATS is an amazing organization, does a lot of good work for townships across the state. So,
I agree with that.
and the conference is a great time, I understand.
Is
So
there-
Dan, you have a good time there.
Is there a motion to approve the expenditures for the PSATS conference?
I would move to approve expenditures for 2 attendees to the PSATS conference on May 3rd.
And I'll second.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Alette?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes.
And the final request is for the Civic Summit Conference. This is the organization that deals with our website, the Parks and Rec programs, and it happens to be in Buffalo, which is very close and affordable. And this was a budgeted item for the current year, so my request is to send John Fleming to the Civic Summit in Buffalo, May 3 through 6. The total cost is $1667.
And just John's attendance?
Just John.
Okay. Is there a motion for the Civic Summit?
Make a motion to approve John Fleming's attendance at the Civic Summit from May 3rd to May 6th.
I'll second that.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Alette?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes.
I have no further communications.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, next on our agenda is a employee approval request from Ashley Marsteller, our Director of Parks and Recreation, for some seasonal employee requests. This is done periodically for seasonal hires in the Parks and Rec Department. Turn it over to the liaison, Dan.
Okay, I have a request from Ashley on approval for the winter session. This would be retroactive to January 4th. Employees will be filling positions within the swimming program, the pool, adult fitness, barn supervisor, adult leisure, and volunteers. And I will make that in the form of a motion to approve Ms. Marsteller's request.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Alette?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, next on our agenda is police requests. First request is, these all come from Chief Scott Height. First one is retroactive approval for Officer Brian Shafter to be elevated to Class D Patrol Officer. Patrolman Shafter successfully completed his probationary training on 12/27/2019. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Alette?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, next we have several training requests from the chief. These requests are for officers to attend training at the Pennsylvania State Police Northwest Training Center. There is no cost associated with these training classes. Travel would be by department vehicle. And we have numerous classes beginning February 3rd all the way until June 4th. These classes fill up quickly, so the requests are put in at this time to get officers into these classes so they can have training available. There's advanced roadside impaired driving enforcement, interview and interrogation techniques, search and seizure, non-traffic, equivocal death investigation, SFST refresher, understanding the sovereign citizen, police reports and time management, ground defense, vehicle search and seizure, building search techniques, vehicle stop tactics, open source intel and investigations, managing the crime scene, and tactical carbine. As I said, all of them, the first classes are February 3rd to February 5th, and then the last class is June 2nd to the 4th. Numerous officers listed here. Again, there are no costs associated with this training. Put that in the form of a motion.
And I'll second that.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Alette?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, next is another training request for 3 officers to attend training at the Cuyahoga Community College Public Safety Training Center in Parma Heights, Ohio on February 4th, 2020. Course is entitled Emotional Survival for the Female Enforcer. Travel will be by department vehicle. Costs are estimated at $1,123.50. That's for the registration, per diem, and lodging. That would be for 3 officers to attend that. It's in the training budget as well. Put that in the form of a motion.
I will second that.
Mr. Morgan?
I vote yes.
Mr. Alette?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Next, we have another training request for 2 detectives to attend ATF financial investigation training on Wednesday, January 29th in Pittsburgh, PA. Travel by department vehicle. There are 2 blocks of instruction. Each is 4-hour block. No cost for the training. And depending on which block of instruction is available, the schedules will be adjusted accordingly. Attempt to avoid overtime. Put that in the form of a motion as well.
I will second.
Mr. Morgan, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Alette, your vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, next is a training request for 2 detectives to attend child death and homicide training on February 3rd and 4th in Beaver Falls, PA. Travel by department vehicle. The estimated costs are as follows. There is a correction to the costs. I believe on your sheet it lists $750 for the registration. It's actually $325 per officer, so it would be $650, not $750. You have fuel and tolls, hotel, and the per diem for a total of $1,182.50. I will put that in the form of a motion.
I will second.
Mr. Morgan, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Alette, your vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. And this comes from the chief, Scott Height. Approval for two officers to attend TASER CEW recertification training on Tuesday, February 11th from 8 to 5, travel by department vehicle. This training is a requirement for our instructors to recertify members of the department with the use of the TASER. The registration fee for both officers is $990. Put that in the form of a motion as well.
I will second that motion.
Mr. Owlett, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan? Your vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, and I think there's one more request from the chief, if I haven't missed anything. This is a request coming via Westridge Fire Department Chief Gerald DeRosa, who has nominated Timothy E. Ekstrom as a special fire police officer. Chief DeRosa submitted a PA criminal history check that indicates a clean record for Mr. Ekstrom. And he is here in the audience today, I believe. And he's going to be sworn in today by Supervisor Ouellette. And can do that right now. Would you like to come up, sir?
Mr. Chairman, I think you have to vote and approve it first.
Oh, that would be a good idea. Okay, I'll put that in the form of a motion to approve Mr. Ekstrom's special fire police officer status.
And I will second that.
Mr. Owlett, your vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, your vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes.
All right, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Timothy Ekstrom,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
to defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of Westridge Fire Department Fire Police Officer
of the Westridge Fire Department Fire Police Officer
in Millcreek Township, Erie County, with fidelity.
in Millcreek Township, Erie County, with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Ekstrom. Thank you. Okay, our executive session was held on January 9th, 2020. Next is our student ambassador report. Turn it over to you.
Thank you. So we have lots of sports announcements at McDowell recently. We are very excited because our basketball team won their game against Cathedral Prep this past Friday, which was sold out. And it's been a while since that happened, so we were all pretty excited about that. The McDowell co-ed cheer team won the bronze medal at their state competition in Hershey, Pennsylvania this past weekend. And Claire Belton broke the McDowell indoor track record this past Sunday, and that record has actually been standing since 2011. So we were quite impressed with her new record. Some other things that we have coming up in the future. 12 students from the McDowell Center for Performing Arts are going to compete at the PMEA District Chorus Festival this Thursday at Conneaut Area High School. And if they place high enough, they have the opportunity to advance onto the region level. So that's a regional competition and concert that's held in later February. And finally, it's finals week at both schools, and this Thursday marks the end of our semester. So we don't have class this Friday or next Monday, but we're very excited to see what this next semester holds for the students and faculty. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, solicitor communications. Anything further, Mark?
Nothing further, thank you.
The December 2019 Right to Know report. Cheryl?
We actually had two requests, but one was directed toward the Millcreek Police Department, and they have their own right-to-know officer who handled that one. The only other request we had was denied for a total of 2 hours in processing time.
Thank you. Citizens to be heard. Any citizens present that would like to speak, address the board? No? Okay. I will call for adjournment of this meeting, sir,
So moved. Second.
at 10:05 a.m. Thank you.